Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of the Detour Live. We're about to unpack an epic stage of the Giro d'Italia. Scotty, we've got you back on the show again, and there's a little bit of echo again because we're trying the new mics. So we might have I know, it's a shame because it sounded so crisp, but there's feedback.
Hang on.
So
I'll get some.
We can work that out. Well, I gotta just say, g'day, Dan. How are you, mate?
How are you, John?
I'm well.
It's a well-oiled machine. Now, we've also got Phil Liggett joining the show, and he's actually waiting in the studio. So we might as well bring the voice of cycling.
Man,
he's very punctual, isn't he? Hey,
he is.
On straight away.
Well, I respond to these WhatsApps you send me.
I know. You're such a good man, Phil. Well, I mean, we're excited. We're all pumped up because last night's stage, we couldn't get away from the armchair. All right for you, Phil. You're watching it in real time, but we were locked in, and Dan, Scotty, and I were sort of texting each other back and forth about what was going to happen and whatever. So it was a lot of fun. And Scotty's having some troubles with his new microphone, so he's playing games there. But I know you haven't got that long, Phil, but we really want to have a chat to you also about your launching your new charity, which we want to go into in more detail. But I thought if you've got a couple of minutes, we just spoke with Whitey. I reckon it'd be great, Dan, if we listen to what Whitey had to say about his great team ride yesterday, and then we can all dissect it. What do you reckon?
Yep, sounds like a plan, John. You've made sense. That's a great start to the show. Now, when we spoke to Matt, the preference of the first question was he made the big statement at the start of the Giro. If Enco buddy had a big ride at this Giro, he might as well coach netball because he doesn't understand cycling. It's his first Grand Tour. It was a big call. So that's the premise of the intro question. So here's our chat with Whitey earlier today. We're joined again by Team BikeExchange Head DS, Matt White. Now, Whitey, we got a message from the Melbourne Vixen netball team. They said, don't bother putting in your submission to coach the team. Because after Evan Paul's performance yesterday, I think you might be on the money, mate.
I love netball. I just think I probably wouldn't be the best coach. I wouldn't be the best netball coach. Look, it was an interesting day yesterday. It was always going to be, but there was definitely a few surprises yesterday, and we came out with a very nice one.
You certainly did, mate. I think you might have been a little bit worried in that first section when it did split. I mean, I can't believe how fast Gunner went into that, and I mean everything split. And there was, four of the really good GC guys got caught out in that split. Luckily, only by 20 seconds, and they all got back. But were you slightly concerned?
No, because Evan Poole was in the second group. And he had a lot of he had 3 or 4 teammates around him, and at the end of the day, it was still 55 kilometres to go, and they were committing very, very hard. But I knew what was coming up, and that was the really tough sections. And Garner and all those guys were never going to pass sector 2, so Bernal was going to run out of troops, and there was always going to be an opportunity to come back. But it's. I think that we could have done things a little bit better in certain sections, but at the end of the day, we did enough to put Simon in a good position into where it really mattered. And then especially Tanel Kanga from Estonia on our team, he had a super ride yesterday, and he was very, very deep. Went very, very deep with Simon into the final, and then even after that, sitting on Evan Poole, which wouldn't have been, and Almeida nearly all the way to the finish. So he had a very, very solid ride.
Can you solve that one thing? I mean, everyone's questioning it, and no one's really answered it yet. Why didn't Almeida wait when Evanpool got spat on that third?
But how's Whitey going to know that?
Well, he'll know. He knows everything. He knows what's going on. Why didn't he wait straight away?
Maybe his radio wasn't working. I don't know.
That's it. He's going to have the same insights as us. It's not as if he's going to be running over
bullshit.
The quick step going.
Whitey knows.
What answers?
There's something
what happened?
going on in the team there. I mean, normally you know, if your rider's gone, you don't have to wait for a radio. You look around, he's not there. Shit, I better wait up. My GC man's gone. No, he wasn't waiting. So I just wondered if you'd heard anything.
Well, it's pretty common knowledge. It's pretty common knowledge that they won't be teammates next year. But it's probably hard to know where your leader is if you're riding in front of them.
Now,
Okay, I know you've got to see. We've got hundreds of thousands of people watching this podcast, so you've got to be careful what you say, Whitey. But I got to say, I was nervous. Look, as we talked about last night, I was nervous about the day as far as the safety of the riders was concerned, about not being fair to the GC riders, but I was excited for it to come. As it turns out, no one who lost time there lost it through bad luck, really. They all lost it because they weren't good enough on the dirt, and they made mistakes, but not through bad luck. So I was a lot happier about it after the finish. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I think one thing that the television didn't pick up, because it just would have been too dangerous for cameras to be in there, was in between the cars yesterday. I could not believe it. Like at times, we had a visibility of 5 to 10 meters between car to car. It was so on television. The guys up front and the guys in the front group, they had a pretty clear run. They knew where they were going. But all the guys who had dropped and guys who had to try to come back, it was unbelievable. I don't know how much dust those guys have got in their lungs this morning, because it was just a dust. It was a dust storm until the very end, and when we got a little bit of light rain, it actually lessened. But in the cars yesterday, all the guys trying to scramble back to the front. It was very, very. There were some sketchy moments. We had to put the hazard lights on. We had to put the fog lights on, and at times we could only see the team car in front of us when it was braking.
Did you go through a whole tube of the washer fluid stuff?
What's that, mate?
Did you go through a whole container of the washer fluid? You know, the stuff to get the wipers going. Or does that just make it worse?
We did. We did have to use it quite regularly. But you should have seen the cars when we finished.
Oh yeah,
it like way worse than Roubaix. Way worse than Roubaix, because it was. It had, I don't know when was the last time it rained on those sections, but it was a dust storm, and it was always going to be. And actually, when it started to rain near the end, I actually was glad, because it slowed things down and made things a lot safer for the guys in between the groups.
Now, so what you're actually saying there, Whitey, actually what you just said is that we're watching and think, actually, it wasn't too bad. We got out without any really bad. But you're saying now that actually they're lucky. It was pretty dangerous for the riders coming through the convoy and the cars in the convoy. So they might have dodged a big bullet.
Yeah, I was very surprised at how few crashes there was. There was a couple of crashes with the cars, but the guy, that group, that front group, it wasn't so dangerous for those guys, the front group. But where the real danger was for the guys trying to get back, and especially on the sectors. And we're talking these sectors, but up to 12, 13 kilometers long. And the visibility in some of those sectors was, well, I've never seen anything like it in my life. I've done Roubaix a few times, and Roubaix does not get that dusty. So. Look, no, I think 1 or 2 guys hurt themselves yesterday, but in general, there wasn't as many crashes as I expected. But I think also because of the technicality of some of those sectors, guys in general rode a little bit more conservative.
Why, to give people a bit of an insight into what effect a ride and a day like that has on the rest of the group, like when they got in on the bus. I mean, what was the overriding mood from? And as you said, it was such a big team effort as well.
Yeah, look, we've been around the mark, and yesterday eliminated a few favourites around us, and it just shows that Simon's in a good place. I think we've always known that, but it's just nice, and we haven't even started. We haven't even started the real Giro yet. The real Giro for me starts on the Zoncolan, so we're in a good place, and we've just got to bide our time. And there's a lot of good guys around us, and it's very close at the moment. Bernal seems to be a league above everyone at the moment, and at the moment it's his race to lose.
And the Zoncolan's not far away. It's on Saturday, isn't it? So getting up to 1,700 metres, but it's a real mountain. I mean, it's 20-something K, and then you got 13% for the last 5K or something like that. So
it's the difference this year. The difference this year, John. It's the reverse side to when Simon was second behind Chris Froome there. So this side of the Zoncolan is a little bit easier. It hasn't been used since 2003. This side with Gilberto Simoni won in 2003. So we've gone up the Zoncolan numerous times over the last 15 years, but this side hasn't been used since 2003. So it's a little bit easier, but obviously the side that we've been using is incredibly tough. But it's a long, sustained climb, and we'll certainly see out of those GC favourites who's climbing well on proper, sustained climbs.
The Zoncolan's going to definitely have a different vibe to it as to when we went up it in 2014, Whitey.
It will. We've got a little bit more focus on the general classification these days, there, Dan. And but the one thing I have noticed, and we've been talking about it since the start of the race, is it really does feel like the normal Giro here, even amongst COVID. Now, the crowd yesterday in Perugia at the start, it was the same. It was a normal Giro start, but with 25,000 people with masks on. So I expect the Zoncolan will be massive. It's the weekend, and there'll be a lot of people out and about cheering and supporting all the riders on. Surely
Heppy's told a few of the boys in the bus the story about when he did the horses and all that sort of stuff.
I think there's a few survivors from that era. Not so many in this group here, but maybe I might give the guys a little bit of a reminder in the team meeting on Saturday. No,
why not, mate? Why not? Take the edge off. That was part one of the chat with Matt White. Now, one of the things that stood out from that was your ability to read numbers, John. Hundreds of thousands of viewers on the podcast. That puts us on par with Armstrong. You want to do me tax returns?
Well, it's getting close. We're improving all the time, mate. I'm just singing our praises. It's fantastic.
Phil, before we show some of the other interview, what were your thoughts on the epic stage 11?
Well, it was wonderful. I didn't catch the whole stage, but I seemed to catch all the parts that mattered. I saw the look. I saw Almeida in, wondering where the hell Vanderpool had gone. And Matt is right. This tour hasn't begun yet, and yet we've seen a lot of the favourites written off the script already. Dan Martin went yesterday, in effect, but the man that came out on top of the pile in a tough stage, and he's pulling this stunt every day, sprinting away near the end from the other contenders and snatching the points, and that's Egan Bernal. This guy is going to win this bloody tour by probably 5 or 6 or even more minutes. He is looking so strong. I felt sorry for Vanderpool, and that's because the guy is soaked in talent. He had a terrible crash, as we know. He's expected far too much from his body in his first race back, and he's been at it since day one when he did a great time trial. He actually believed he could win this tour, even though he may not have actually announced the fact. I think he'll be totally shocked by the fact his body says, hey, let's get into this a little bit more slowly. He will be a great bike rider, but yesterday he learned not to push the odds too strong.
What do you reckon, Scooter?
Yeah, wise words from Phil. You could tell in his disappointment that it wasn't just it's been good so far. And on social media, he basically put it that way, that, hey, look, I'm still here. I'll keep trying. But you could tell in the stage, he was devastated with the way things went for him. But hey, incredible. You think back, not that long ago, he was just training on the home trainer, and not long before that, he was hardly able to even walk. So it's been an incredibly accelerated recovery for him. And then to start the season at the Giro and be in the top couple of riders for up until yesterday, it's still an exceptional performance, and does indicate, as Phil says, that he's going to be an absolute superstar of the future. And look, the stage was taken out by yet another young guy, So Mauro Schmidt is only 21, so he's another of this young generation. And he didn't come from cyclocross, but he started in cyclocross, has that sort of skill set as well, which worked well on the gravel yesterday. But it's just extraordinary. Remco is still just a young guy. Egan Bernal seems like a mature rider now at 24. It's just incredible how much cycling has changed.
When you saw Remco rip the earpiece out, did it reek of like someone that was just throwing a little hissy fit?
Yes, he was pissed. He was pissed off. And they said, it was only because he was just getting too much instructions. He was saying, where is bloody Almeida, is what he was saying. Where the F and hell is he? And he was up the front.
He was ripping his earpiece out. You'd never find out.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, he had Bramati. Bramati was the director sportif, for the Italian races, of course, and he's a big man with a big voice, and I'm sure there was a lot of desperation coming through his earpiece, and telling him that he just needed to keep pushing hard, which Remco obviously was already pushing hard. Don't need to keep hearing it. Where's my bloody teammate? Get him back here now. Rip it out. Didn't want to hear
it actually reminded me of Cadell's earpiece in the World Championships.
But the difference was Cadell pulled that out when the gun went off. Hey, Phil, I want to ask you, you've been around the sport for such a long time. Is there a bit of a danger, particularly coming from Belgium, when they put so much pressure, so much expectation on these young riders? Can it actually have a more of a detrimental effect rather than just let the kid race without, piling on this pressure?
Yeah, well, the Belgians are Belgians. I lived there when I was trying to be a professional cyclist, and they're great people. And they do put pressure on you. I mean, I had a small fan club, and they go along to the comesses to watch you race, but they don't expect you to be at the back of the bunch. They expect you to be driving at the front. So while they have one beer after another and they get higher and higher, they expect you to be charging at the front of the race higher and higher and better. They do put pressure on the superstars, and I can't really fault them for that because they produce superstars, although not quite as many as some parts of the world. Eddie Merckx had to go through it, and the trouble is that this kid looks to me like a young Eddie Merckx. The only other guy that's ever looked like a young Eddie Merckx sadly got killed in a car crash. He was world champion, Jean-Pierre Montserrat. He had everything Eddie had too. We're going back a long time. And I think this is the next man to be Eddie Merckx. And I think Eddie thinks it too. They do put the pressure on. But the lad he's got the mentality to be a champion. He believes he can be a champion. And he's pushing his boat out. He thinks he's rubber. He's come back from a terrible crash. It's his first race, the Giro, after that crash last year. And he expects to be there and charging and doing it all. And you can tell by his frustration when he couldn't do it. He was hurting himself as a punishment. And at the end of the day, he didn't lose the Giro. He lost time, yes, and it's unlikely, highly unlikely, but he's still in the competition very much so.
Have you got Patricia in the background doing the dishes, mate?
Yes.
Hi, Trish.
Hey,
how are you, Trish?
It's breakfast here.
Thank you. Muffins for coffee.
Yes.
Shit.
Well, the muffins will be out the oven, so we're all right.
Yeah,
Hey, listen, though, but to just say, you mentioned Mauro Schmidt. This lad was plucked out of the air by Dougie Ryder for the Quebec Assos squad. When he looked as though he wasn't going to be able to get a pro contract, he suddenly finds himself a couple of weeks call into the Giro, and he's gone and won a stage and believed he could win the stage yesterday when he went on the attack. He thinks only positive. And this kid's another youngster we just discovered. And the funny thing was, now I know you mentioned about my little session on the safaris, which is coming up in June. I had just sent Dougie an email while the race was on, just to say, hey, Dougie, I want to explain this charity I'm doing, and I want you to come on as one of my guests. And as the kid suddenly won the sprint, so I quickly followed up with, you see the magic I have? Now you must come on to my charity. And it was uncanny, and Dougie hasn't replied yet. But knowing Dougie Ryder, how he celebrates his Grand Tour win, he's probably still drunk.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the event that you got coming up. I can share the screen. Look at this technology.
Oh,
and I think this is the homepage. Have a look at that. So
that is the homepage, and yep, it's.
If people want to go there, this is the address.
Thank you for that. That is it. It's Phil Liggett's Safari Peloton. We're going bushing on the bike with the app at fullgas.com, which you'll get all the information from if you if you log on here. We only announced it 48 hours ago, and people have sent me already $2,000 in donations, and we've got 35 riders in my peloton so far. The dates are on there. There's 4 days. It's $40 US to enter, and the money, all the money, goes to the charity, which is all about Carriacca, which is a private game reserve. And because it's a private game reserve, the rhinos are roaming free here, by the way. And you can see we've taken the horns off because of the poaching. And this is where the money goes to anti-poaching, etc. That's me and Trish outside our property in Africa. Don't know where they got that photo from. I was quite young there, wasn't I? The actual Full Gas.
You're looking good, though, Trish.
The Full Gas app,
there you go.
which you will find, the Full Gas app, which you will find, is an app which is not a virtual app. The rangers on the 15,000 hectares of land have gone out and ridden the whole area on mountain bikes. So those real pictures, and they've ridden. In fact, the reserve sent me just an hour ago some of the clips from the film. He is actually riding alongside a giraffe, which is with him on these mountain bikes. So it's all very special. Now, what the guys do when they enter, and the girls, they just come and they come. We send them the Zoom link once they've entered, registered. They come on board. If they've got a smart trainer, they get on the smart trainer and they literally ride, or they can watch if they don't want to ride. And all the money is going in there. Now, it's desperate, John. The whole thing is desperate because of COVID in South Africa. There's no visitors allowed in the country. Nobody can get there. I can't get back there at all. And this particular reserve relies totally on big paying visitors because it's so expensive to run. And the local people who live in the tribal areas, communities around the area, are all employed by Carriacca, as well as the animals who are protected and roam free as far as they want to go. So that's it. I've got Phil's safari peloton. I've always wanted to have a big peloton around me when I'm in the bush with the lions. And we just pedal. Each ride's just over an hour long, and there's 4 sessions. And I've invited a few famous people, riders and vets and stuff, and they'll join me online, I hope, and I'll talk with them, and you can talk.
Well, we'll commit now. So Scotty and I'll ride. And as you said, there's a viewing option for Dan. So it sounds like a perfect plan.
To get a smart trainer, Dan.
No. I'll sit back with a glass of red and commentate.
I don't blame you.
Hey, Phil.
Yes.
Question to you, and without notice, so I'm not sure if you know the answer, but do the rhinos, does their behaviour change at all? Is it noticeable when they have their horns taken off to avoid the poachers?
It's a very good question, Scott. And the answer is basically no. We've actually, when we took horns off where I live, further up in the northeast of South Africa, we took horns off quite a few rhinos, about 90 of them at the time. And by the way, for a year now, we've never had a rhino poach, so it's working. But another rhino roamed onto the patch. I think he came across from the Mozambique direction through the Kruger, and he came onto the patch where the dehorned rhino was and took him on in a fight. And the horned rhino lost the fight. So we were afraid that the horn being taken off would cause an inferior situation with the dehorned rhinos. But it's worked out, and it's absolutely fine. And so the answer is no. We're very, very happy about that because that was the big concern. You're absolutely right. That was the big worry.
We've got a couple of fan questions and comments coming in. Obviously, Wendy Superfan. Hi, Dan, John, and Matt. And obviously, hi, Scott and Phil. This shows that they don't miss a trick, Phil. Ian Thomas says, hey, Phil, what's happened to your Giro pink light fitting that we saw last week?
Oh, all right. Then let me go into it. I'm in a different room, that's all. Turn it on now. Where is it?
There you go. How good's this for interaction with people online? And obviously, we've had some more comments. Hudson Valley says, beautiful giraffes. And then, can we have a link to Phil's ride, please? I'll be joining Dan on the couch. So we brought up the website before to get involved. KARIEGA.co.za/Peloton. So jump on there. You've got all the information.
You'll love the scenery.
Cheryl Mariner, I want you on the bike. That's no on the couch. Come on, you're a bikey chick. You got to be on the bike, Cheryl.
Yeah. Well, Phil, we won't hold you up too much longer, mate. You better get into that beautiful breakfast. And I think it's about time.
I'll tell you what I'm doing now. As soon as I hang up from you guys, I'm going to talk about a ride I'm doing with Jens Voigt on the app, Full Gas, in New Zealand this coming Saturday. He'll kill me. It's a 90-minute ride on the Smart Trainer, and we're going around Lake Torco.
Nice.
Oh,
I holiday with COVID. It's all on trip.
Oh, good stuff, mate.
It is amazing. Yeah.
Well, we encourage everyone to obviously get behind. It's a great cause, and we're looking forward to seeing how it all comes together, mate. As the live update, US raised $1,960, and your target's 35,000. So
you are so good. How do you get all this information?
Yeah,
You're incredible, Dan.
Looking at your website, and as John said, we've got hundreds of thousands of viewers on this podcast. We'll get to 35 grand, no worries, mate.
Let me just quickly tell you one. We can't hear a thing with Trish. She's doing the washing up now. But, just tell you one quick story. Tell me one quick story. There's also a free draw when you register, by the way, which could see you.
You have to put in $120 and you go into a list. And if we reach our target, it's a holiday for 4 people at Koreaki Game Reserve for 4 nights.
Is a luxury there. If you had to go staying the night there as a normal punter with no gimmicks like we're doing, it would cost you $3,000 US per person per night to stay there.
Wow.
So it's a special place. But all of the money goes to the Koreaka Foundation. It's just making people enjoy the animals there. And the one animal that is there is called Tandy. I'm hoping we'll see her on the ride because she roams free. She knows the humans very well because one particular human whom I will be interviewing on the app is Dr. Will Fold, the vet. He saved her life. She was found with her face hacked off, literally half her face hacked off to get the horn out, but she didn't die. And he reshaped her face and brought her back to life. And she's now had 4 cars, so she's now telling me. She's had 4 cars since, and she's a grandmother now because one of those cars. Oh, there we are.
That's fantastic.
Sensational.
I just thank anybody that takes part very much. Indeed.
Well, as we said, mate, get behind the cause, and we're looking forward to it being a huge success, mate. You're doing a great job, both you and Patricia, mate.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
No worries.
All right, Trish. Great to speak to you, Dale.
It's only my idea. Don't go there.
And you're doing a great job as well, Patricia, making Phil's breakfast. Tell him to get off his ass tomorrow.
I know, don't worry. He's got to wait with Jens Voigt for an hour.
I'm about to eat now.
So,
I got up very early, and for 2 hours I've been nothing but be on the computer. So and now the WhatsApp's calling. This is actually correct. Calling me to talk to them about the Rhino ride. Okay.
We better let you go, Phil. You're a great man.
Really appreciate it.
Again before it closes because this is turning out to be a sensational race. So enjoy it.
Yeah, we're on board. We're on board. We're joining.
Yeah.
All right. Don't forget now. Fresh register now, and we'll see you soon. All the best, guys. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, mate.
See ya.
Bye. Voice of Cycling, Phil Liggett. Guys, before we get into unpacking yesterday even more and the other 2 parts of Matt White's interview, let's have a quick word from our great mates at BikeExchange.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match. But not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. BikeExchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Thanks again to our great mates at BikeExchange, and the money's coming in, boys. Ian Thomas, I'll donate to Phil's event just for him being a good sport and showing he didn't smash the lights. So, good on you, Ian. Now, we might as well go to part 2 of Matt White's interview, and then we can unpack some more insights from yesterday's epic stage. Just on the stage, you obviously had some tactics that you did want to disclose. How much did it pan out to what you were sort of planning for yesterday?
Yeah, well, a lot of it as planned. I think we all knew that the first sector was going to be crucial because, as expected, everyone in the bunch arrived at the first sector together, besides the riders in the breakaway, and so it was a mad fight to get into that sector. So that was expected. I knew that either Quickstep or Ineos or someone like that were going to push that sector. It turned out to be Ineos, and it turned out to be Ineos because it looked like Evenepoel was probably a little bit nervous on the dirt there, which is normal. He's come back from his first race in 9 months after breaking his leg. So of course, and the kid hasn't raced before he came here. So of course he's not going to be feeling as confident on gravel as someone who's had a normal sort of season. Then the second and third section, I really knew that, having checked them out a couple of times, that they would be very selective and that the big guys wouldn't get through those sections. And then it turned out to be who had the best legs in those final sections, and a lot of guys did implode because maybe they wasted too much energy going into those sections. Maybe they didn't have a team around them. Who knows? But for us, it went pretty much to plan.
And what are your thoughts for stage number 12, mate?
Big break from the start. Ineos will want a break to go. It's very, very fast and flowing all the way to Florence. And then once we get out of Florence, which is the sort of just before the middle of the stage, we've used those roads many times before. It's basically, there's not many major roads through the middle of Italy there to the finish, and they're long climbs, they're steady climbs, and I expect a big break to go in the first 50 kilometres today, and Ineos to let it go to the line. So I think there'll be a lot of teams that will sort of want to be in the break today, and that first hour of racing will be pretty frantic.
I wasn't quite ready to give up on yesterday's stage. I'll go back in a second. But while we've got that up, that last climb, Whitey, looks like a pretty steep section. How tough is that? Because it's not far it's all downhill to the finish from that.
Yeah, look, that profile doesn't really do it justice. It has some very steep ramps, but it's not a sustained climb. It goes up steep, then levels off, up steep, then levels off. And then it's a very technical descent up until 4 kilometres to go. And then after the last 4 kilometres is pretty straightforward. But I would expect there'll be 2 races today, one for the stage win. And then, as always, when you've got a GC rider, you need to stay focused till the line.
So I just wanted to touch back to yesterday's stage because it was something we're going to talk about for a long time. I thought it was just a ripper of a day. From the armchair, not sitting in the team car. But I was surprised with Evenepoel that just how badly he was descending on the dirt. I mean, he was just losing the wheel. The minute the road started going downhill, he was just dropping off the wheel and trying to come back. And in the end, he just blew up. It wasn't really the dirt. He just he blew. So I can't see him, really figuring the top 10 as this race gets into. We're not into the real mountains, which we haven't even got to yet.
Oh, I'm certainly not writing him off. I think he's a once in a generation talent, and until he's totally out of the picture, I certainly won't be giving him any chance to get back into the race.
John, have you not learned anything from the Giro?
I've written him off.
Surprises.
I've written him
last week.
He's gone. No. I was his biggest. I watched him yesterday. He's not coming back from that. Sorry, 21. Ciccone, I was surprised to see him crack towards the end. He'd been going so well. Matter of fact, he was the one who was best sort of covering the moves of Bernal up until yesterday, but he just cracked. And his teammate was riding for. I couldn't believe Nibali was doing so much for him. Very unusual.
Oh, I think we all know Vincenzo had a very different preparation for the Giro, breaking his hand a month ago. and Ciccone is a guy. He's shown some really good condition here, and look, he might have lost a little bit of time in the finish, but he's certainly been on the up and up, and he's a class rider, and probably Italy's next generation GC leader.
And Dan Martin, you wrote him off. You said he wouldn't handle the dirt. Or maybe I said that.
You said
no, that was definitely you, John. I will never say anything negative about any riders.
Must have been me,
ones who
but
I've worked with in the past.
He lived up to all my expectations, which is a shame because I'm a big fan of Dan, but he doesn't handle that sort of roads very well. But I was very impressed with Bookman. That move of his, in the final part of the climb was a really strong move. But gee, when Bernal put the hammer down right up to him, he looked very impressive.
Yeah, look, Bookman's a class act. People might forget he was fourth in the Tour de France 2 years ago. So he's no stranger to the pointy end of general classification rides. So I'm not surprised with his ride. I think he's a class act. He's Bora's sole leader here, and I think we're going to see more of him when we get into the high mountains next week.
I thought Sagan was their sole leader, mate. So there you go. That's how much I bloody know.
Well, that's on the flat stages.
Oh, okay. And now I see a strong rumour. It's getting more and more heat that Sagan could end up in the Wolf Pack next year.
Yeah, nothing would surprise me. I think it could be positive. Who knows? But I think people are joining the dots there because of Specialized and his relationship with Specialized, and there's only two teams who are riding Specialized bikes, and one of them is the Wolf Pack. So. Yeah, whatever happens in the market happens. It certainly has got nothing to do with us. But I think by all accounts, there's a fair bit of rider movement that's going on behind the scenes, and we're going to see a few riders and changing teams for the next season.
Well, that's almost like a swap over with Martin going over to Bora and him going. It's almost like a clean swap.
Yeah, well, the thing is, all it is rumours until August because none of the teams can confirm it. So
we love a rumour, mate. We love a rumour.
But where there's smoke, there's usually fire. But I have no idea the final movements sort of guys, mate.
John, you've got to stop cutting me off. I watched that back and I cringe.
It's great. I'm actually maybe even in front in this episode.
Scotty, have you noticed with John, you've got to be like the finger just doesn't work anymore. When you want to ask a question or do whatever, you've got to be so sharp. You've almost got to cut the person's answer off just to get the next question in.
It's almost like coming to the final of any race and it's only like 100 meters from the last corner to the finish line. You have to be into that last corner first. And John is desperate to get there before you.
Oh, mate.
And if you don't, you'll bloody miss out if you don't.
Hey, we encourage everyone to ask questions, get involved online. We'll read a lot of these comments out. Clinton Donkin says, loving the pod from Dublin, and yeah, she's pissing down. Where can we get the Cooker print behind Scooter?
I'll let you know. That's Sandy's. I actually just grabbed that off the wall outside. I've got to take it. I haven't been putting it back every day, so we've got a bare wall outside here. But I need to put that back up again. So I'll ask Sandy where that came from.
Yeah, you're gonna have to find out because she's starting to go viral. Carolyn Harbeck, Carolyn says, Matt, we obviously pre-recorded that. Do you think gravel road sections will be in the Giro from now on, every now and then? What do you reckon, Iffy?
Look, I think it'll be an every now and again, like Tour de France do with the Roubaix section. They probably, every couple of years they bring it back if it's in that region and whatever. I think that's what they'll do. I mean, they've done it a few times, but this one was a bit more than they've done in the past. With the Strada Bianca roads, they've done them a couple of times, like when Cadell won and another time since. So I think this is the fourth time they've done it in the last 10 years. So I think it'll be something like that.
And also we've solved the mystery with the Cooker print. You get it at Kmart, Lee Barry. So there you go.
All right, I won't ask Sandy.
Now
You
it was
get
an
everything
interesting.
going up.
It was interesting, the insights from Whitey, the fact that, you look at it on paper and the riders got through relatively unscathed with that stage, but it's the danger that it causes behind the race. If you've got visibility of, 5 feet or whatever with the dust, I mean, they really did, as you said, dodged a bit of a bullet, they reckon, Scooter.
Yeah, and look, the more you do it, so if they were to say, okay, let's do gravel like that every year, then there will be a major incident and a really nasty accident, and who knows how bad it could be. Because the odds are, if you're in that dangerous situation, and us that have been in races know the intricacies of the convoy and all those sorts of things. But if you've got someone like Matt White who does it for a living, been doing it for a long time, talking about the dangers and how it was a sigh of relief to get through it because no one was that seriously hurt, then yeah, eventually there would be a serious issue, I think, if you were to do it too often. So you've got to put that into, you can't just say, oh, hey, look, no one died, so let's just do it again. So, well, okay, you've got to make sure you minimise the risks going forward in anything, whether it's putting barriers up or whatever it may be. And I think it's something for, like you said, John, in Tour de France, throw the collars in every now and then, because it also then changes the investment possibilities, I think, as well. Because if there are every second year someone crashes out and they're up on the GC, then you've got sponsors that you've got to go back to and say, oh well, hey, look, he was great, he should have won the race overall, but because of this bloody gravel they keep putting in, we can't get through it. So I think there's that factor as well. But as a fan, it's always great, but I think perhaps too dangerous to do too often.
Well, Wendy Superfan asked a good question. Would it be better if the dirt roads were sprayed with water prior to the riders coming through? Iffy?
Not bad. I mean, it's interesting that Whitey said that little bit of that drizzle that they got near the end made a huge difference. Look, if it's really, remember that when it was muddy, when Cadell won, most of the riders hated it. So you probably wouldn't get a lot of fans from the riders if you started watering the road.
And here's a good one, Scooter, on LinkedIn. Patrick Verras says, what does Almeida do? Ride for himself or keep supporting Evenepoel?
Well, he's paid to keep supporting Evenepoel, so that's what he should be doing. But I think that was the problem that we had yesterday, that he was he sees that he's out of the team at the end of the year, so look after himself a little bit, not so focused on his teammate. And look, he's also Evenepoel himself. If everything just stayed as it is now, and we've still got, of course, the big mountains to come. But if he was still, he's only 2 minutes 22 down, I think it is. So if he was to stay in that position coming into the final time trial, he's finishing on the podium. That's how good a time trialer he is. So, okay, lots of big mountains still to come. And he did cook himself up. You were right, I think, John, and in that it wasn't that he was, in that front group and just got dropped. He was riding so much harder than everybody in that front group because he just wasn't great on the dirt. So tactically not as good, wasted a lot of energy and cooked himself up. So Almeida, their best chance is still to look after Remco. And when they get onto normal roads and normal climbs, then see how he's feeling. So we'll see what the discussions, if any of it comes out. But momentary lapse of reason, perhaps, from Joel. And, he'll pull his head in and remember that he's getting paid lots of money.
Exactly right. Look, Almeida will not. Sorry, got you again, mate. Almeida, is out of the GC. He's a lot further back than Evenepoel. So he's got no chance. So until Evenepoel is completely out of the GC, Almeida has to ride for him. Then he can go for stages. He won't be going for anything else. But, look, we know how good a time trialer he is, but for me, it's just a matter of time. But come Saturday up Zoncolong, it'll be zoom out the back.
Well, and to his defense, all right, put yourself in his situation. He wouldn't have expected Evenepoel to get dropped. And there's so much noise and he's at the front and he's riding in front of Evenepoel, but he wouldn't have expected him to get dropped. Like, you still would have thought, all right, he's sitting on your wheel.
As Whitey said, when you're doing it, protecting someone, you actually don't ride in front of them. Whitey put it much more politically correct than that. What was he doing in front of him? What Whitey was?
Well, you're meant to ride, aren't you? Meant to get him out of the wind?
No. Sitting in a bunch, you sit behind him and you look after him. You don't not know where he is. That's a different thing if you're at the front, but they were just sitting there were 10 riders apart. If you're not riding next to him or just in front of him, you don't know what's going on. He knew. Come on.
Yeah.
You just have a look back. You know when the rider's gone and their radios were working.
All right, so let's not mince the words. It's a dog act.
Yeah, well,
probably. Yeah. Hey, but Book, how good was so Vlasov was really good. He's only 45 seconds down on overall. Bernal, obviously, standout rider. Okay, every time it looked hard, he was going for it. He was amazing. Gap Vlasov at the end as well, but it's still only 45 seconds. So after all that hard work, the gap is still pretty small. Bookman, in the big mountains, you'd expect him to do well, especially after, being fourth in the Tour de France. So he's proven that he can do that before. He's a bit of one of the older guys of the group. He's 28. So you would also think that he might be still pretty good in that third week as well, proven performer. So he's had a good one. So there's another rider that we kind of weren't talking about, and all of a sudden he's back in the mix. And it's going to be interesting on the first big mountains to see how Yatesy goes. Yatesy was a big winner, I think, yesterday as well. Like he lost 20-something seconds, only not much, off such a difficult, challenging day that he was nervous about. It was, 26 seconds down. So he didn't lose that much. He's still right in the mix. He's only a minute 22 down, still with so many big mountains still to come. I don't think he's going to match Bernal, but there's definitely a podium possibility there for Simon.
Well, anything can happen in the Giro, particularly, someone could get gastro. Here's the last part of Matt White's interview. John, that's 2 quick step questions now. Whitey, can you just do your debriefs with Bramati and just say, listen, mate, I'm also doing stuff for the detour every day, and they're just obsessed with quick step. So as much info you can bring back on other teams would be very beneficial, mate.
Sure. I'll just get into airdrop me their race their race plan in the mornings while we're in the bus area.
Yeah,
much easier.
Yeah, exactly. And last question, mate. What was the menu like last night?
It was good. We had a few teams staying at this hotel. The only negative yesterday, we didn't end up eating dinner till 11 o'clock.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But so I haven't even had breakfast because I'm still full.
Yeah.
I'm still full. So dinner wasn't that long ago. So no, it was good. It was always a good feed, but it was just a little bit late last night. We had a late arrival. The mechanics were out working till 10 o'clock at night, and so we were supposed to have dinner at 10, but due to the 5 teams staying at the hotel, it didn't really eventuate till closer to 11.
And before we go on food as well, what's your take on seafood pizzas? Do you generally steer clear, or?
I think you've got to weigh up the circumstances there, Dan. I think depending on where you are, if you know the pizza establishment, and you've
got to be close to the beach too, don't you?
Well, there's that theory that the further you are away from the beach, the highly likely the fish is frozen, and that it has because it's getting moved so far. But I'd stay away from the seafood pizzas while I'm on a race anyway. I know I have a pretty good guts there to I don't get sick too often, but mitigating risks also involves staying away from seafood pizzas.
And I'll take it on board. And when they're a day old, even more so. And it's more chance of not being close to the beach, close to the bowl. That's how it was for me.
Yeah, a day old.
What a great way to finish the interview, mate. We
one last important question. One last important question.
Quick step.
Knowing the region where you were, there must have been a lovely a little sip of red last night, mate.
In Italy, in general, there's always a good house wine. That's why we love the place.
Foot stomped by the family out the back.
Yeah, no, it was a good night. There's a few relieved people across many teams last night, just because a lot of effort has gone in from a lot of people to get their leaders ready where they are, and to get through that stage unscathed was a good outcome for many teams.
Well, as you said, mate, the race is just heating up, so plenty of stages to go. So wish you all the best today, and we'll check in again tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Off to the bus, otherwise they'll leave without me.
Thanks, Whitey. No, they won't do that. They won't do that.
Good on you, mate. Speak soon.
See you guys. Have a good day.
See ya. Whitey said at the very end there that they left without me one time. That happened at the Vuelta when I misread the WhatsApp message, and I walked out and it was like tumbleweeds, like buses, cars, they're all gone. And I remember absolutely shooting myself and ringing Steve-O, going, Steve-O, what's going on? He goes, Dan, where are you? You're not on the bus. I said, yeah, no shit. I'm at the hotel. He goes, mate, we're half an hour down the road. Like, you're gone. It was like an hour and a half to the start. I just got into the race doctor's car. He was packing his bags. I said, mate, you got to help me out. I don't think you're going to say. He said, just jump in the back. Mate, this guy was doing 180 on the freeway. We caught the bus in, 20 minutes. And then the bus driver's driving along and I'm hanging out the doctor's car and gave the team bus the thumbs up. And the guys are like, what the hell's going on? What's he doing in the back of the doctor's car? So I dodged a bullet that day. But when Whitey was talking about the food, Scooter, it reminded me of when we went to the Giro in 2009. And I think we ordered the bolognese one night. And it just said ingredients was meat. And horse is a delicacy in some parts of Italy up there.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. It's something that we Aussies don't typically choose to eat. Like I say, if you go to some countries in Asia, there's another type of meat that's often on the menu. And Belgium and the Netherlands as well, they're pretty big with their horse. But yeah, cavallo in Italy.
Should have said nay. You should have said nay.
Nay to the horse bolognese, thank you. But far lap was a bit chewy, but still got through it.
Now, is there anything else you want to unpack from the Giro, or can we move on to the Australian Olympic team selection?
Hey, watch it. Look, Whitey didn't go into too much detail about the final climb tomorrow because these are pretty long. You've got an 8K climb, 17K climb, 15K. They're Cat 2s, but these are some decent length after a pretty gnarly day yesterday. And then that final hill, it's only a Cat 3, but the middle section, about 4K of it, average is 9.5%. And there is a pinch at 14%. So I think he's right that it'll be a breakaway fighting for it. But that's steep enough. 10% gradient for several kilometres. That's steep enough to nudge it if, someone wants to have a real crack in the GC towards the end. So,
I agree with this, Scotty. I was saying that to Whitey. I reckon this will change another little change to the GC. Anyone who's a little bit tender, out the back, like Ciccone yesterday, out the back.
Someone like Marc Soler, who was a big loser from yesterday. There was a moment where he looked really good, on one of the climbs towards the end, and then just blew. So, maybe there's someone like that really wants to try and test himself if he's feeling good. It's tricky descent as well, the first couple and it's only 11 kilometres from the very top with, pretty windy. So regardless, I think your GC guys are going to want to be in the front for the descent because it's a bit tricky. We'll see how it plays out. But, it's like the Giro. Hey, it throws up surprises all the time, doesn't it? So, and look out for Geoffroy Bouchard.
I have got something here.
He'll be a break for sure.
I found this when I was going through some stuff yesterday, and it's actually a Graham Watson original.
Oh, nice.
Cadell, yeah.
There you go.
Very nice. 2002.
2000 and whatever, his first Giro. And that's an original, which I've promised to Cadell. So he's when he gets back, hopefully early next year, I'll give that to him. But
promise Cadell is the highest bidder on eBay.
I can tell you a story about that year, because that was the one where, so he went into the Jersey and then the next day, was it the next? No, he went into the Jersey and then on the penultimate mountain stage, he lost like 15 minutes or something like that, 15 minutes, and went way down off GC. And, that was just, body management, didn't understand the long tours, the Grand Tours, his first Grand Tour, that kind of stuff. But because I was in the team, I wasn't at the Giro, obviously I didn't ride the big ones with him, but I was in Mapei that year. And Andrea Noe, who was like the experienced rider from Mapei, he was telling me that, Cadell, obviously, then he learnt what to do as a professional road rider, but he said that year what he was doing was Mapei would go to the front and start riding tempo on the climbs, and Cadell would sit like in 30th wheel. So Noe would go back, grab Cadell and say, mate, come to the front. And then after the stage, explain that if there's a split, if there's a split in the peloton and we've caused it and you're behind it, how stupid are we? So, just if we're going to be riding on the front, you need to come up and sit with us. And then
mate,
if you look at...
Everyone knows you can't ride in front of the riders. You've got to be to the side or behind. It's common knowledge.
Exactly.
Don't turn things around from what the facts are, Dan. But then, whatever. But going back, but
so
you're right.
But
what cost him?
So calculated.
What cost Cadell that tour? He'd been riding as a domestique really hard for it was Simoni, wasn't it? And
Gazzelli.
Gazzelli. And then he got kicked off the race. So and all that wasted effort. I mean, if he'd spent days and days riding on the front for Gazzelli, and then got himself in a pink, without that, he probably could have gone very close to winning that Giro.
Oh, if he'd managed to, I think he certainly could have won it. He got himself in the lead. He was in the mountains, so he certainly had, as we know later on, had the capabilities. It was just, just knowing his body management. Too much work beforehand, all that kind of stuff. But hey, Theo Gegenhardt won the Giro last year after his team leader crashed out of the race. So it happens.
We're getting some more good comments online. Ben Jensen has rolled up. Hey guys, just arrived. What did I miss? Any internet issues? And then Tom has come back with, nothing's happened, Ben. And then Wombat Breath has said, Scooter's rocking a cool chef vibe tonight. All he needs is a little Czech skull cap.
I'll try and get one. The fans, mate. Hey, Ineos, before we move on, Ineos have done it again, haven't they? So Bernal doing what he does, right? Then you got Pidcock, new sensation, okay? Ethan Hayter is the next one, 22-year-old, won the stage at Ruta del Sol yesterday, so Andalusia, and is now leading the overall classification. Should have won the Algarve Tour like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Remember, that's when Brett Lancaster was on. He was talking about how he was in the lead and crashed in the time trial. If he hadn't crashed, he would have won that tour, ended up finishing second overall, I think. Now, he's the guy that I posted on Facebook a few weeks back, reminiscing about the Commonwealth Games when Sam Welsford won the scratch race in 2018 at the Annemiers Velodrome and the 2018 Com Games. And Sam won it. Amazing comeback, closed the gap down on the last, lap and a half. It was a fantastic finale. But it was Ethan Hayter riding for England on the track that was off the front. And they took Cameron Meyer and then Sam Welsford to bring him back. And he spent almost 10 laps, I think, the final 10 laps of the Commonwealth Games scratch race, and almost held on for the win. That's how strong he was. Very impressive. And he is part of Team GB for the Olympic Games in the team pursuit this year. So Ethan Hayter, once his track commitments are done, he is showing that he is the next another one of the big stars to come out of the UK.
Freaks.
Different world.
All right. Well, Olympics. Let's talk Aussies. We're going to go through the road team. We've got Tiffany Cromwell there for the women's road race, Jack Haig, men's road race, Richie Port for the men's road race. Not sure about Jack's facial expression there. He looks like, on Crime Stoppers when they go looking for this guy. Got a bit of a stunt mullet look. Then we go across. We've got Cam Meyer, Grace Brown, who's going to do the women's time trial and the road race, Sarah Gigante, women's time trial and the road race. And then we've also got Rowan Dennis, who's obviously going to do the men's time trial, Amanda Spratt for the women's road race, and then Alexandra Manley. So she's women's endurance. So that's track. So I pinched these off Twitter. So you've got the track team.
What that is, what that is, Dan, is because all these trackies, these ones on screen now, except for on the far left is Alex Manley. She hadn't been named until today. So she was named because the road riders and Alex, because Alex is actually the addition to the team after Amy Cure withdrew after the postponement last year and she retired from the sport. So all the road riders were named today, and also Alex as the extra person that's been put in to take Amy Cure's spot. And all the other trackies have been already named.
Yep. Iffy, any surprise selections or pretty straightforward?
So the roads team. So who is the men's road team again? Give me the whole. Who have I missed? I didn't see Michael Matthews in there.
No, he's not. So your men's road team, guys, is Richie Port, Jack Haig, Rowan Dennis, and Cameron Meyer.
Oh, okay. Because it didn't say Rowan. It just said time trial for Rowan, but he's riding the road race.
Well, that's to be determined. It comes down.
How many can ride? How many can ride?
I think that could be the problem. Could be I might only be three or four. I actually don't know whether I.
Aren't you a selector? Aren't you a selector?
No. No,
No?
not for the road.
Oh,
I'm not.
okay.
No.
You're just you always were a trackie.
Yeah. So
It's starting to sound like Neil Mitchell, Johnny.
No, but what the situation here is that we've got Cam Meyer, Aussie road champion, but we also have the Madison on the track, and he's a multiple world champion in that particular discipline. So, and also team pursuit, depending on how things work. So you've only got a certain number of riders slots allocated for the track versus the road. And if you can slip someone like Cameron Meyer into the road team, then you can bring them across onto the track. If need be.
Well, I'd like to know what the numbers, how many can ride from Australia. I think we might be 4, because I'll tell you what, it'd be hard to leave Rowan Dennis out of that road squad. Not only we know how super strong he can be, he could win the damn thing. So I wouldn't be leaving him out of that road race.
Yeah, and I don't know. I haven't been involved with any of that, so I'm not really sure. Even just the quotas when it comes to the road, I don't know really any of that. But and look, Rowan, I know that Rowan will be going there fully focused on the time trial. That is what his whole year is about this year. So whether he feels that he's got the legs to then also do the road race, can he help out a little bit? Who knows? It's pretty hilly. Richie has never proven himself as a one-day road rider. In any one-day event. Yet he is our best climber, so you've got to give him a shot, and hopefully this is the one that he can prove himself to really be up there and be a contender. Yep.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Any surprises with the track? It'll be all pretty straightforward with all the lead up, particularly the 1 year delay.
Yeah, well, that's been the challenge for all of the countries, is to manage the mental health and the focus of all these riders. So all the ones on screen there, they're all part of the track endurance team. None of the sprinters. One of the sprinters in there, Matty Richardson. But most of the track team pursuit guys and girls, Nettie Edmondson in the front here. Down in the middle, down the bottom of the blonde, that's Maeve Plouffe, who's one of the young riders that has only just really come in these last couple of years, and she's an absolute sensation. The rest have been around for a few years, Georgia Baker, Ashley Ann Kudnoff, and also Alex Manley. But Maeve Plouffe has got an incredible amount of horsepower, and she forced her way into the team, basically. Towards the end of last year. She is so strong and someone that's going to be great in the team pursuit. Luke Platt amongst that group as well. So remember Luke Platt, who after these games rumoured to be heading somewhere else to race on the road next year in Europe. So that'll be interesting to see how that all plays out for him as well. He's only 20, the youngest in the team.
Is this Lee Howard's first Olympics?
No, he was in London 2012 as well. Yeah.
He's stopping. I actually have been texting back and forth with Luke over the last few days, and he tells me that their training is going really, really well.
They're doing really well. Hey, they did some trials, guys. It's not common knowledge, but they try to keep it all pretty secret. They've done a couple of trials, and also
we've got 200,000 people listening to this, mate. You got to be careful what you say.
Several hundred. Yeah, no, they did some trials. And the times they did in the trials gave them an enormous amount of confidence, because remember the World Championships last year, they didn't ride to what they would have hoped to, but they were trying to train through the Worlds to get to the Olympics. But still, it was a bit of a kick in the butt for them. And the times that they've done in these couple of trials that they did have been exceptionally fast. So that's given them a lot of confidence. And our group has really come together and bonded incredibly well. And they've taken a lot of motivation, both the guys and the girls, all the way through to this point. So, things are looking pretty good. Fantastic.
A couple more comments before we go. NCPC Pres 1 says, well, I didn't see Michael Matthews in there. ... Nothing wrong with your eyesight, iffy. And Cheryl says, SBS says 4 for each road race for the Olympics. So,
sensational.
Yeah. So Rowan will ride, and I think Cam will be there to do what he can, but more so there to do what he can on the boards, which is what he's so good at.
Yep. All right. Before we go, what was your predictions for stage 12? Who's going to win? Just if it's breakaway, it's a chook lotto.
Yeah. I tell you, look, he might have hurt himself yesterday, but Bettiol from EF, if he gets himself in a break, if they let him, he was really good yesterday, and he is hunting for one.
What about Taco? He could go again if he.
Well, he was in there yesterday. Old Taco, he was having another bash, but
we love a taco, don't we? Yeah, and a burrito.
I'll give old Tommy the Ghent. I'll give him another bash, even though it's probably a tad too mountainous for him. I know he'll get in that break and go for it.
I'm going for George Bennett.
Georgie.
He might be a good one. He's going to be.
He was
fired
good
up.
yesterday. He spent a fair bit of bickies though. Whether he can come back from that.
Shows some good character though, didn't it? That's good on him to have a real crack. Like it didn't work. Who knows what he was thinking? But you thought, oh, well, maybe if they weren't going to really chase, he could have got a bit of a gap. But they brought him back. Good on him.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that's it. Wombat Breath. Thanks for insights and memories, guys. Great show as always. Good on you, Wombat. We'll see you all again tomorrow. As we always say, make sure you tell your mates. YouTube.com/The Detour Podcast. We're also on Apple, iTunes, Spotify. Give us a rating and review, and we'll see you again tomorrow for stage number 13. See you then. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
This is the winning ride of the Tour de France.